So good evening. Today's class will be talking about growth. Now, in this context, we'll be talking about growth in context of biology, not in our normal context. We are all familiar with growth, and I believe we all want to grow. Nobody wants to be stagnant. Nobody wants to stay in a place without moving forward. Now, all living things exhibit this. It's part of our characteristics of life. No living thing will live without exhibiting growth. So all living thing grows, and since all living thing grows, all living thing exhibit growth. Now, growth is defined as the irreversible, permanent increase in size. That is just a simple definition for growth. Irreversible, permanent increase in size. So in this context, we see plants, we see babies. After giving birth to them, they're just not more than hands length. A baby that is just a newborn baby is not more than hands length. And after some years, you see that same child being able to be so tall. This is growth. You realize that such organism can't go back to that size when it was just not more than hands length. So this is growth. That's why growth is defined as irreversible. It's a size that can never be reversed. So really, it increases. It can never be reversed. So growth is simply defined as irreversible, permanent increase in size. So that's the topic we'll be dealing with today. So in context of biology, this is defined as the irreversible increase in size, complexity of an organism brought about by the synthesis of new protoplasm. Now, don't forget, synthesis means production. When we say synthesis, that is to synthesize something is to produce that thing. So in the context of growth here, synthesis means the producing more protoplasm. The more our protoplasm increases, the more we grow. The more our protoplasm increases, the more we grow, and that's how it undergoes. In plants, but in the case of plants, we animals, our own growth occurs in all our body. All animals exhibit growth in all the parts of their body. But in the case of plants, they exhibit their own growth just in some parts of the body. Plants exhibit their growth only at their head. That's why growth in plants is referred to as apical. It's apical because it only occurs at the apex of plants. We grow all part of its body. No, you just realize that the plants just continue to grow at the head, at the apex of its head, and they continue to grow and continue to grow like that. So that is that about growth. Now that the basis of growth. Growth occurs in 3 stages. Growth occurs in 3 stages. We have cell division, cell enlargement, and cell differentiation. That is, for growth to occur, the cell has to divide. So when the cells divide, it multiplies. We also have cell enlargement. The cell enlarges for growth to occur. I also have cell differentiation. And the aspect of cell differentiation, that's the aspect where different cells are being assigned to different parts of our body. That is cell differentiation. Now, types of cell division, we have 2 basic types of cell division, which is mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis and meiosis. So we're discussing about mitosis. Now, mitosis is a kind of cell division to produce 2 daughter cells. with the same number of chromosomes. That is mitosis. It's the kind of cell division to produce two daughter cells with the same number of chromosomes. That is mitosis. Well, in the case of meiosis, it leads to the production of 4 daughter cells. That is just the difference there. Now, mitotic cell division involves 5 stages. We have the interphase, the prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. There is this acronym I usually use for my students in order for them to remember. And the acronym is IP-MAT. IP-MAT. With this acronym, one will be able to remember the 5 stages of mitosis. The 5 stages of mitosis are IP-MAT. IP-MAT. The I stands for interphase, the P stands for prophase, the M stands for metaphase, the A stands for anaphase, and the T stands for telophase. So in the case of interphase, interphase is that stage where the cell only undergoes resting. So at this stage, it is referred to as the resting stage because the chromosome only prepares itself for prophase. Nothing occurs in interphase. The chromosome becomes elongated and forms a network of threads. Then in prophase, the chromosome becomes visible. The nucleus shrinks and the centrioles start moving away from each other. So each chromosome forms 2 distinct chromatids in the prophase. Then in metaphase, the chromatids that are being formed are paired and they arrange themselves in an equator of the spindle. That is what happens in the metaphase. It is at the prophase that the chromatids is being formed, while at the metaphase is where the chromatids are being paired and arranged in the equator of the spindle. While for the anaphase, the sister chromatids separate and start migrating to the opposite poles. While for the last part, which is the telophase, the cells start dividing into 2 by constricting at the equator. So it's at the telophase that the 2 daughter cells are being formed. Now that the importance of mitosis, one, it brings about growth. That's why it is being treated under this context. It's because it brings about growth, development, and specialization. It also helps to repair damaged cells. So it also helps to repair damaged cells in our body. That's mitosis. Now, life processes involve mitosis. In which condition in our life does mitosis occurs? We have formation of new cells in malpighian layer, production of red and white blood cells. That is, before the white and red blood cell are being produced, there will be mitosis will occur in the cells. The cell will have to divide in form of mitosis to produce 2 daughter cells. And we also have healing of wounds. Healing of wounds. You maybe in one way or the other, you find yourself in an accident. It's a cut, the blood comes out. After some minutes or after some days, realize that the cut is starting to heal. As that healing is occurring, mitosis is occurring in your body system. So this is just the process. You can see here we have the mother cell. Here, the second cycle here is where the telophase. There is mother cell is where we have the interphase. This second cycle is where we have the prophase. The third cycle is where we have the metaphase. The fourth cycle is where we have the anaphase. And the last part is where we have the telophase. So these are the stages of mitosis. Now, aspect of growth. This aspect talks about the parameters that are used to measure growth. That is, how will you know that growth is occurring in your body system? How will you know you are undergoing growth? So we have mass, size and length, increase in number of cells. So these three are the main parameters that are used to measure growth. The mass of the organism, that is how much you have increased in mass. For example, you realize you see yourself checking your scale today, you realize you are just 40 kilograms. And after 1 year and 2 years ago, after 1 year and 2 years, you realize your mass have increased from 40 to 60. So this is growth. We also have size and length or height of a man. And this one is even common among us, where we measure our growth by moving close to the wall. We measure where our head touches the wall for this day. Then subsequent days, we go there again to measure to see maybe. So that's about that. Now, regions of fastest growth in plants. So the aspect in plants where we have the fastest growth is the roots. You all know all plants have roots. Without to tap nutrients from the soil. So the root and the step up is where plants undergoes growth. Since growth in plants is apical, the root and stem can be divided into two. We have the region of cell division. It is called the apical meristem, region of elongation, and region of cell specialization. Now, what are the factors affecting growth? External factors. It includes the availability of nutrients. So before plants can undergo growth, these factors must be considered. These factors are not to be considered. Maybe there's a lack of these factors. The plant won't be able to undergo growth the way it should. Now, these factors, we have the external factors, which are how available the nutrients are. The nutrients are available. We also have humidity. We have light, temperature, and pH. These are the external factors. You can see plants, before they can even make their own food, they need light. So without plants being able to make food, the plants won't grow. That's why light is a factor. So when there is abundant light for such plants, the plants will be able to grow, manufacture its food, then growth will occur. We also have internal factors. This is common to animals. Hormones. Plants also have hormones. An example of plant hormone, we have the gibberellins, we have the cytokinins. These are examples of plant hormones. Now, internal factor, the main internal factors are hormones. So the hormones that are just inside the body system to stimulate actions in the body system. Now we'll discuss about irritability and types of responses. When we say irritability, we refer to the ability of living organisms to respond to stimuli. Part of what makes us living organisms is our ability to respond to stimuli. If there's a fire outbreak, immediately we will start running eta scatter. There is that act of running eta scatter is irritability. You are a outbreak. If it's a non-living thing, the non-living thing will still stay there, and the fire will occur. So in plants, there are three major types of responses. We have the tactic, the nastic, and the tropic movements. The tactic, the nastic, and the tropic movement. I call this TNT. These responses, I call it TNT. So this is how I used to teach my students in order for them to remember. TNT. Tastic, nastic, and tropic. Now the first type of irritability, or let me say first type of response, is tactic. It's a directional response of a whole organism from one place to another in response to external stimuli, such as. So in this aspect, plants move, or even living organism, when they move in the direction of what they want, it is called negative, it's called positive chemotaxis. For example, let's say Uglena, for example, it always swim away from light because it can't stay long in where there is high light intensity. So Uglena usually move away from light. So it's responding to the light. So that is referred to as what? Negative phototaxics. The sperm also swim towards the egg. During sexual intercourse, you see the sperm will always swim towards its egg. That is positive. It's moving close to the chemical produced by the egg. It's called chemotaxis. The next part, which is nastic movement, is a non-directional movement, or is a non-directional response of a part of a plant in response to non-directional stimuli, such as light, temperature, humidity, etc. Now, the case of nastic is that the organism does not move all of its body, which is opposite to that of tactic. In tactic, the organism moves all of its body. But in nastic, the organism only moves parts of its body. It moves parts of its body away. It moves part of the body in response to stimuli like light, intensity, temperature, humidity, etc. Example is the folding of leaflets of mimosa plants when touched. There's this plant, it's called mimosa. Maybe you touch the plant, it moves, it closes, it opens. So this is an example of nastic movement. We also have closing of the morning glowing flower when light intensity is low. So these are examples of nastic movement. Now, the last part of response, which is tropic movement, is when a part of plant responds to directional stimuli. Only in tastic that the whole part of the organism responds to stimuli. But in the case of nastic, parts of organism responds to non-directional stimuli. Example, light, humidity, etc. But in tropic, plant responds to directional stimuli. Example, we have shoots bend towards light, which is phototropism, while roots bend away from light, which is negative phototropism. We also have shoots bend away from gravity, negative geotropism, while roots bend towards gravity, positive geotropism. We also have climbing of plant twine around the support. Tendrils, this is common in the leaves of yam. Climbing the plant twine is called positive stigmotropism, while the root tips grow away from it is negative stigmotropism. So that is that about irritability. Now movement. Now this is common to all living organisms. All living organisms moves from one place to another. That is, and the reason for movement varies. Some people move of food, some for water, some for mates, some running away from predator. Now there's something called cyclosis. It is the movement of the cytoplasm in cells. It's the movement of the cytoplasm in cells. So it occurs in protozoa like amoeba and in chloroplast of some plants. So this is movement in unicellular organisms. Now, what are those organs that are used for movement? It varies. Me and you, we move with our leg, but snake has no leg. So snakes move with his body. So in the case of flagella, in the case of euglena, spermatozoa, chlamydomonas, all of these organisms, they move with the aid of the organ called a flagella. We also have cilia, in which paramecium moves. The cilia is like hair structure. So paramecium moves with the aid of cilia, while euglena moves with the aid of flagella. So that is that about movement, response, and growth in organisms. We're just touching this aspect in order to talk about these characteristics in living organisms. I believe you understand. Any question?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Do you have any question?
Yes, sir.
What's the question?
Sir, please, what's the meaning of stimuli?
Meaning of
Stimuli.
stimuli, okay. Every organism have response to stimuli. Every organism responds to stimuli. Let me use this example. For example, let's say you are just moving beside your friend, and the next thing you see is that your friend slaps you immediately. Immediately he slaps you, the one first thing that will happen is that you will frown your face. That slap is the stimuli. You frowning your face is the response. So that's why stimuli is defined as change in environment. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Do you now understand what stimuli is?
Yes, sir.
So stimuli is what?
It's a change in environment.
Exactly, change in our environment. I believe you enjoy the class. Hello? So we're calling it a day. Just make sure you go through the notes. Do you have access to these notes?
I've screenshot some of it, but I couldn't start the class with you. I missed a page.
Okay. You can just go through the notes. I believe you understand. Okay, have a wonderful night. Good night. Okay.
Hi, is there any?